All right, Coach Lee here, and I am wiped out this morning. In the build period, right? If you're peaking towards an event, you have, typically a 2 month just brutal block, and I'm in one of those blocks, and so the mantra is hard days hard, easy days easy, and I was up out the door first thing this morning, just cranking it out. So today was a maximum effort day, and I feel really good, but it really wiped me out. Let's talk about heat acclimation. That was on my mind all this morning. I got up first thing in this morning and I ran out the door before the heat came on or even the sun came up, because I knew that I was going to have a max effort, a couple of big efforts up the side of a mountain, and I really wanted to nail it. Um, Heat acclimation is man, it affects everybody differently, So all of my athletes, I have some athletes that will just thrive in the heat, and I have other athletes, and particularly myself, I will just be wiped out. One of the problems living in Virginia is that right when that heat comes on, this is typically when athletes are in their build phase, when they're peaking towards an event, when the workouts get super difficult, and where you as an athlete and I as a coach have to make sure that we're nailing our quality. Right? So I want to jump into a whole bunch of things. I got a list of heat acclimation tips. But before we do that, I want to talk about a couple big events that we have going on. Bedrock Gravel Race, July 1st, 2023, right here in Bedford. It's a great race, and it's actually a charity ride. I belong to a new foundation that was created called a Good Day Cycling Foundation. And so it's all about helping junior riders learn education, learn crucial skills, get to races by providing travel grants. And so our first event is the Bedrock Gravel Race on July 1. Then we have Columbia Cycling Camp, January 2024. I've talked about this before. We have a web page up, and it's with Coach Jill Patterson, who lives and trains in Washington, D.C. in that area, and she's just an amazing talent. She goes to Columbia every year. Last year, she had her first camp, and when she had that camp, Jill and I have done camps before together, and I said, Jill, we have got to take our show on the road and do a camp in Columbia. So she agreed. So in January, we're going to have a camp, and it is already filling up. So we're about halfway full, and we still have, a good way to go. But if you're interested, please reach out in the notes below. I'll have my contact information, and let's get a dialogue going, because this is, it's filling up, like I said. All right. So heat acclimation. So let's go. I like to tell a story. And so this story is an epic tale of failure. Even though that I know about heat acclimation, even though I preach about heat acclimation, even though all my training peaks wake up to notes in their calendar saying, hey, heat acclimate, take the heat seriously, take the heat seriously. I went out to do a FTP test the other day, and I totally cracked, right? So here's my FTP test, and I was supposed to do a 15-minute test on using WKO5 normalized residuals to do my FTP testing. So I had a 15-minute test, and I was supposed to I was actually, my low point was 315 watts, and I was like feeling good, so I was going to crush it. So with this first effort, you can see right here's where I cracked. Okay, so this is my dynamic functional reserve capacity line. You see me going out. This is just the 1249 effort. My heart rate goes up. I'm digging. Boom, I pop. And so at the end of this, by 12:49, I was done, right? I couldn't do any more. So I popped. I didn't even make it to the 15 minutes. I managed to squeak out 320 watts. I had a max HR of 172. I had an average heart rate of 164. Interestingly, I had a very high EF for this day. It was 1.96. I'm typically down in the 1.6, but I was at 86 degrees, right? I couldn't go any longer. It was just too hot. So I went out the next day, did a couple things. One, I went out a little bit earlier so that it was 10 degrees cooler. But the second thing I did was underneath my jersey, I wore a veloToze cooling vest, right? So you have the vest, you have these pockets, and you have 4 of these ice packs, and you put these in strategic places. There's one on the back of your neck, there's one on your back of your spine, there's 2 on the sides. And once these are all frozen outdoors, they last about an hour outside. So I had this vest on, I had it all zipped up. I had a jersey over all of this. I couldn't zip my jersey up because this is, the veloToze is quite bulky. And so I did not zip my outside jersey up, but I had my phone in there, my nutrition, all that great stuff. So I just let that fly. But I had that cooling vest on. And how did I do the next day, right? So this was the very next day. And so I cranked out, I just kept it going. So, when I FTP test and I'm feeling good at the end of that test, I just keep it going. So I went to 15:09 and I take the best 15 minutes as a coach, and as an athlete, I take the best 15 minutes or whatever time frame they're going at. And I knocked out 333 watts. I had a max heart rate of 177. I had an average heart rate of 164. I had a higher EF. I don't think I've ever seen a 2.03 for me before. So that was pretty good, but it was 74 degrees outside, right? So this is key, right? I was cooler. I wore the ice vest. I hydrated. I went out cooler. And even though I failed the day before at, a maximum effort, I still cranked out and did better the day before. My heart could go higher. Everything was just working. My cardiovascular system was on fire. My metabolic system was obviously on fire. And I cranked out a great 333 watts for that effort. So there's some things that I like to talk about. When it comes to heat acclimation, one is take it seriously. Again, I have athletes who they just nail it. Okay. Me as an athlete, me as a coach, I see all the differences. Some people it really wipes out at the beginning of the season. Other people it don't. You could have 2 junior boys living in the same area. One junior gets wiped out. The other junior, fine, no problems. But you have to take it seriously, and you have to know what is going to happen to you when that heat starts going up. Another thing, heat is a stressor, much like training stress. So one thing that I like to do is decrease intensity and temps over, somewhere in the 80 degrees. Go ahead and decrease the intensity for the first few training sessions. Maybe start with an easy hour walk in temps over 86 degrees, or using a recovery ride, right? So this is probably one of my biggest strategies. In the afternoons, I'll start doing hour walks outside, and it gets 90 degrees pretty quick around here. So I'll start doing, walks in that. The other thing is that one of the problems with decreasing your intensity is that I'll actually talk about that in a second. All right, so expose your heat to gradually, right? We're taking it seriously. We're exposing our heat to gradually in low intensity situations for at least 5 days and up to 3 weeks while recovering fully between sessions, right? 3 times per week is good when using a 21-day protocol to maintain heat acclimation. So, right, expose yourself to the heat gradually in different types of situations. One of the things that I like to do is to use a trainer for intensity and outdoors for heat acclimation. So, right, we're in our build period. Quality of work, right? A lot of my athletes, we're in our final 2 months. We're going up to our big events like, the Ironman that's here in Roanoke, the half iron that's here in Roanoke, right here, this t-shirt. We've got Roanoke Amateur Road Nats. We've got a lot of big events in June that my athletes are peaking towards, but you still have to nail that quality. Okay, so my story is simple, right? I moved here in 2018. It's hot every year. I would bring my FTP all the way up to its highest point of the year, and during the summer, I would just see it fall, 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 fall. And this year, I'm determined not to have it fall as bad as what it did last year. Okay, so it just, even though I was taking heat acclimation seriously, I was not getting my quality work in. And so, right, we can never forget the principle of reversibility is that if you don't use it, you lose it. So if you have your sky high FTP, it takes a certain amount of work to get your FTP that high. Well, guess what? It takes a certain amount of work to keep it there. And so if you're not doing the work to keep that fitness, then, your fitness will decline. So this year, I'm going to do, when I can't get outdoors, I'm going to do my intensity work on the trainer. I have a huge Air King fan down there. I have smaller fans all around me. I'll be wearing my cooling vest. They even make ice caps that I've been thinking about so that I can nail my quality work in the summer. If it's too hot for me outdoors, then I'm going to nail the work indoors. And this is what I recommend to my athletes as well. Recover from heat exposure properly. Rest and sleep in cool environments. Cool down before sleeping. That's crucial, right? Recovery, recovery, recovery. Adapt your nutrition, fluid, carbs, electrolytes, rehydrate. When you go outside, and you're out there in those heat, you just gotta hydrate. You gotta hydrate, 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 hydrate. Wear technical fabrics designed to cool on the hottest of days. And so that's where something like the veloToze comes in. They got this. There's all those really super tight under your jerseys for hot days, fabric. I have a couple of those. I've never noticed a difference. So say if I wear this super tight white thing designed to wick the sweat away and channel the sweat away and all that stuff, I've never noticed a difference between wearing those and not. But a lot of people wear them. You'll see them in the professional peloton. You see them, in the Tour de France on hot days. You'll see them wearing that kind of stuff. All right, so so heat acclimation, basically the principle is take it seriously. And if you have big events, you have to use that cooling vest both in training when you're sitting there warming up before your race. You have the cooling vest on, and you even seen the professional peloton last year. They were actually even wearing ice mitts while they were the cooling mitts while they were sitting there warming up. They had their hands in cooling mitts. I'm not that far yet. I do love a cooling vest. And again, that veloToze, when I went out and did mine the other day, I used it. It lasted about an hour, and you could still feel that there was just a little bit in there, even after an hour. So it worked really well. All right, guys. Hey, my contact information is below. Reach out. Would love to talk to you about coaching and would love to talk to you about heat acclimation. Would love to consult if you have any questions whatsoever. Would love to help you get dialed in. Thanks, everyone.